One morning before school, I was rummaging through the equipment room, which was located just off the gymnasium. My dad was a physical education teacher. We always got to school early. Normally, I'd be shooting hoops in the morning or hanging out in his office while I got ready for work. But this morning, I was bored, and I thought I'd see what this room had to offer. To my surprise, tucked in the back corner of this room was a barrel full of indoor lacrosse sticks. They were goofy looking. They had a bar across the head of them so the ball wouldn't fall out, and they had these flimsy looking shafts, but I didn't really care about those details. I was absolutely pumped. My dad had introduced a bunch of new sports to this tiny New Hampshire town since we had moved there, and he assured me that he would introduce lacrosse to his phys ed classes. Lacrosse just wasn't a sport that I liked. It was my favorite sport of all time. One day, I went to visit my dad up on the high school campus in New York. I was in 4th grade, and I stumbled across this game. I had no idea what I was looking at. These large men with helmets and sticks flinging this tiny white ball around. The hard hits and the fast shots, I was mesmerized and hooked instantly. From that day on, all I did after school and every weekend was play lacrosse. The Native Americans who invented the sport called it the creator's game or the medicine game. I was 10 years old and I had no idea about those facts, but I knew that lacrosse was buried deep down into my bones. I was 13 years old when we moved to Gorham, New Hampshire. I went from a class of 500 students to 38. 7th grade through 12th were all in the same school. It encompassed 3 towns, and there was 350 students. Tiny town. My dad had gotten tired of the fast-paced life in New York, and he was ready to make a change, and my whole family was on board. I was still excited to make this move, even though I received the worst news possible. There was no lacrosse in New Hampshire. Gorham was particularly hard on outsiders. I wasn't aware of that at first. When I first made it to town, everyone was very welcoming and inviting and nice, and I shared all kinds of parts of my personal self and what it was like growing up in New York. But the environment quickly changed hostile. I had people challenging me to fights that I had no desire to participate in. I had kids slamming me up against lockers and calling me every homophobic slur you could imagine. I had kids tearing me apart for how I looked, how I dressed, how I walked, how I talked. Even the music I liked wasn't working for them. It made no sense to me, and it was incredibly hurtful why these people were attacking me. I was never the cool kid. Kindergarten in New York up through elementary school, I was never really fitting in. I was maybe on the cusp a couple of times of being with the cool kids, but never truly invited in. And it didn't make sense to me even as a young boy. I thought I was a nice kid, and all I really wanted to do was have fun and play sports. It was pretty simple. But that wasn't going to be happening. So the 4.5 years that I spent in New Hampshire, it did have some bright moments, and I did meet some nice people along the way. Drama club, skiing up a Wildcat Mountain in the winter, provided an escape from the daily abuse from these bullies. It was really my parents, though, the 2 people that I could trust the entire time. They always had my back, and they allowed me to believe that someday I was going to leave this small town and be surrounded by people that cared about me just the way I was. Lacrosse in phys ed was a rare moment for me to shine amongst my classmates. Sometimes it's the little things in life that can get you through those dark periods. Lacrosse was my moment to rip it up. Kids in class marveled at my stick skills. To cradle the ball, to pass, to shoot, to catch it, it was awesome. My dad required you to pass the ball twice before you could shoot. So I, of course, took the ball inbounds and made sure someone was at midcourt to receive my pass and give it right back to me so I could go down and score another goal. I scored so many goals I lost count, and I loved every single one of them. After a while, this act got pretty annoying to my classmates, and they started stick checking. Well, stick checking wasn't permitted. And some of these stick checks bordered on slashing, which is a violent swinging of the stick. My dad seemed to swallow his whistle during these times, and I remember distinctly yelling at him, "Hey, why are you not calling these penalties?" He slowly looked at me and calmly said, "Pass the ball." I knew he was trying to teach me a lesson there, and it was a lesson I was clearly not interested in learning. Furious, I barreled my way to the goal to score another one. Lacrosse was very much a microcosm of my entire existence in Gorham. There were kids that wanted to emotionally break me and sometimes even physically break me. But with the help of my parents, I would know that I would persevere. Lacrosse was really very much the same. I would not let these stick-wielding, jealous kids take away a special part of me. Every goal that I scored felt awesome. I would absorb the checks and I would absorb the bruises to keep on scoring. And the harder they hit, the better the goals felt. My goal celebrations were beyond guttural. They were explosive and primal. Lacrosse was really a short-term therapy to a no-way-out situation. It really temporarily took me away from the pain of being bullied and not fitting in every day. For that moment in time, lacrosse just wasn't my favorite sport. It was my medicine game. Thank you.